First of all, I have to ask, what is it
So
about
for
religion
some
that
individuals in
elicits
the
such an
LGBTQ
extreme reaction
this is
from
by
the LGBTQ world?
an author writing for this site right here, and it's from last year. For individuals in the LGBTQ community, the thought of religion or religious groups usually elicits some reaction. There are many both mainstream and fringe groups that have strong anti-LGBTQ points. This often is hard for someone who is raised religious and finds comfort in the church. The purpose of the current research was to conduct a structured literature review on academic literature exploring a connection between LGBTQ and cults. I used the Prisma methodology to examine this topic. While there were some interesting findings, I was unable to find extensive connections between the topics, especially in regarding to cults. The findings of my research suggest that most of the religious institutions explored have anti-LGBTQ views. These views can create communities not accepting LGBTQ individuals, and in turn have often made LGBTQ individuals turn away from the church. And the author says, there is hope, and we are seeing many more mainstream religious groups become increasingly accepting of LGBTQ community, which many say comes at the cost of religious tradition. And in the previous video, we talked about this, the changing of the Christian God in Sweden to a non-binary, non-human idea. It goes against the very idea of Jesus. Today we're going to look at how LGBTQ individuals and adherents try to reconcile religion with their ideology and their hopes and dreams, and how they take offense to the Christians and the hardline Christians who see them as, well, not only a disgrace, but a group in need of a hardline message. So, some in the world might remember, and this was before my time, a movement called the Westboro Baptist Church from Topeka, Kansas. And it was led by Reverend Fred Phelps Sr., and this was during the 1990s and early 2000s, so a bit before my time, but it was still very much in the news. This group protested the funerals of AIDS. I don't know if I want to say AIDS victims, but people who died from AIDS. They also protested the funerals of U.S. soldiers and other events across the city. So Reverend Phelps and the WBC became notorious for their protests, which often included vulgar signs depicting LGBTQ sexual actions, to make their point, I suppose. The WBC was a small congregation made up of mostly Phelps family members. It was recorded by the FBI because the FBI was spying on them in 2003. They were surrounded by a privacy fence, and the church resembled a compound. The WBC was religiously mostly aligned with primitive baptism. It saw itself as being, quote, the only contemporary group that actually understands and lives out God's commandments. That's interesting. A lot of groups used to say that. From the moment Phelps and WBC began its protests, they started receiving threats. Protesters would film their protests for protection. Even the FBI kept periodic records on WBC activity for intelligence purposes. Hope I don't say WCBC. That's my Canadian brain messing up. BC and CBC. Anyways, while not as strong as WBC, most mainstream religious organizations have strong views against members of the LGBTQ community. I'd say the entire Muslim world has strong views on the LGBTQ community. And that's not really covered in this article, I would imagine. I was wrong. As a point of clarification, this manuscript uses gay and LGBTQ as inclusive terms to represent the entire spectrum of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, and other individuals. As of 2022, The United Methodist Church, a large Protestant religious collective with membership over 10 million, is even moving forward in a split over the issue of LGBTQ acceptance. Just as some religions are moving toward acceptance, other groups have a long way to go, according to this author. An estimated 700,000 Americans have participated in sexual orientation change efforts, aka conversion therapy. This is not strictly an American issue, as support for gay conversion therapy in Brazil was very strong as recently as 2020. Even beyond the draconian conversion therapy practices, conversion therapy, like what that means is the old method of trying to fundamentally change closeted people to becoming straight again, or not just closeted, but explicitly homosexual individuals through the means of drugs, chemical castration, and all of that to de-gay them, which has since been proven to be an inhumane medical practice. Nevertheless, there's a growing movement of Christian and gay support, resources like the Reformation Project and Joel Speaks Out. The purpose of this research was to conduct a structured literature of reviews and articles regarding cults and the LGBTQ movement. Given the often polarized or fringe viewpoints of cults, I expected to find extensive literature on this subject. I used the inclusive terms as LGBT plus cult, gay plus cult, lesbian plus cult, bisexual plus cult, transgender plus cult, and queer plus cult. This was the number of research results, 3,335. With only, according to this author, 1,679 being unique. The church and religion is often looked upon as a source of strength for people. Right or wrong, clergy and other religious leaders shape the views of congregants on ambiguous matters. Ambiguous matters according to this author here. But what are those? What are said matters that are ambiguous? Some congregants' interpretations or misinterpretations of religious texts, or, as this author quotes, traditional, quote-unquote traditional, views on marriage can complicate matters. Why put traditional in quotes? Traditions are often established facts. It's a fact that something is a tradition. I think this author wanted to put the word tradition in quotations because maybe it's culture that distorts historic truth, perhaps, which could be valid, or a valid insight, or this author feels that established traditions of religion in the West is problematic when it comes to the LGBTQ world, the new world of gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender theory. Townsley, 2017, Townsley in 2013, argued some biblical passages used to condemn homosexuality are actually misinterpreted. They found that some religious people are more accepting of same-sex partners as versus marriage because the latter challenges their definition of the institution of marriage. Perry and Snotter, in a 2016 paper, suggested individuals who consumed religious media may be influenced negatively towards LGBT individuals. Even seemingly innocuous religious groups like the Presidential Prayer Team, whose members pray for elected leaders, can promulgate anti-LGBT views. Religious views can be shaped by the government and society. How accepting or unaccepting society toward LGBTQ community, regardless of laws, has a profound impact on views and actions. So this also says religious views of intolerance towards LGBTQ plus individuals in rural South Africa continue to stigmatize individuals, regardless of equality laws, racially speaking. Apparently South Africa may be on the forefront of racial equality. South Africa still is a terrible place to be gay. Historically, black churches have openly expressed and support anti-gay views. That doesn't really surprise me. Pringle and Bauermeister in 2018 found Young black, gay, and bisexual men were most at risk of social isolation when black churches advocated this stigma. In 2016, they found that black men who had sex with men would often hide their sexuality from others in order to stay engaged with their church. Contrary to researchers examining bisexual men, bisexual black men, they reported finding some acceptance and even sexual partners within religious communities. There's a complex relationship between religion, LGBTQ individuals in terms of age. While they found that gay adults tended to follow their childhood belief systems, they often moved away from more traditional religious institutions in favor of those with more progressive views. In 2020, they found high religious young people had stronger anti-gay views than their peers with not as high of religiousness. And younger LGBTQ adult participants with 4-year college degrees were less likely than their non-degreed counterparts to attend religious services. Young gay and bisexual men diagnosed with HIV infection showed higher levels of religious service attendance. 66% in that regard, according to a research study in 2014. Only 16% believed they could safely disclose their sexuality at church, and 37% believed homosexuality was sinful. In 2011, it was reported that HIV-positive black men in the San Francisco-Oakland Bay area felt integrating HIV prevention with spiritual practice and faith-based HIV/AIDS ministries that supported HIV-positive men would be helpful. Being young and LGBTQ is often a reason for homelessness, with nearly an estimated half a million LGBTQ youth in the U.S. experiencing an episode annually, as a study found in 2014. While some young, unhoused LGBTQ adults saw religion as a source of resilience, many felt religion further stigmatized them in the community. Now, I wonder why. I wonder why they feel stigmatized. Probably because it goes against the sanctified institution of marriage, which historically throughout the Judeo-Christian and Islamic worlds was the unity between man and woman, not woman and woman, man and man. And this is a real problem for the LGBTQ community because they're trying so hard to make the church in England and to a small extent in the Catholic world of America a bit more grounded in LGBTQ theory, and that is proving not to be popular with Christians and churchgoers. What does this article say about Islam, as we wondered earlier in this video? Muslim men who identify as gay often struggle to find cohesion between their sexuality and their strong religious foundation. Muslims living in South Africa struggled over what makes a person gay. Just thoughts or actions? Muslim gay men in New Zealand admitted to struggling with this dilemma, but most found they were able to reach a middle ground. In 2017, based on the research from 2017, they interviewed 10 adult LGBTQ plus Kuwaitis about their experiences living in a social conservative country. The participants admitted to struggling with their sexual identity due to not only potential family discrimination, but also legal ramifications and violence, many cases the death penalty, or just simply being hunted by the Muslim public, especially in countries like Iran. Transgender individuals in the Muslim world often sought greater religiousness in order to find security and acceptance. I did not know that. Jaspal in 2012 examined the views of British, Indian, and Pakistani gay men who were involved in their respective religions. British Indians saw the intersection between sexuality and ethnicity as most relevant, which was different than the Pakistanis in Britain, who felt the intersection of sexuality and religion was most important. So Indians, with their ethnicity, that's the problem. With Pakistanis, it's their religion that's the problem. Both groups saw their homosexuality as being socially problematic. In another approach, Galriz in 2021 looked at how queer and transgender Muslim organizations in Canada help to combine both LGBT and religious views so members could find community together. That should be another video. Now, goes on and on for a little bit about the other sects and religious institutions. I don't think we'll talk about Mormonism, but I think in another video we should talk about gay transgender Muslims. That would be an interesting video. I'm genuinely curious at this point. So, we've looked at some data here, and essentially it's problematic to gay people, and it's problematic to religious people for opposite reasons. Gay people feel that community's not being accepting enough of me, and religious communities, which are largely collective in principle, feel that, well, we can't really accept you if you are not going to abide and participate in the union of marriage within our community. So therefore, we can't really welcome you in the community. Now, you can be gay if you go to the Church of England. You can be transgender. But that is not popular with conservative Brits, conservative continental Europeans, and especially conservative Americans. It's a bit mixed in Canada. It's a lot more mixed and more divided in Canada on the nature of gay churches, and many in Canada. There is a strong pushback in Canada by conservative Christians to disallow any at all LGBTQ flags on churches. And while the churches who do fly pride flags don't really see it as a problem, they see that as just a greater sign of bringing more people together at church. And the numbers show that it's not popular. It's not popular in Canada when they put pride flags on churches. It's not popular in Britain when they do it. So, there you have it. That's it. See ya.